Nathan Gilbert, aka Gilsun, aka Irongate Sound, aka all the other great things, mate. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Kieran. It's good to see you again, and nice to be here for a chat. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, brother. Me too. Bit of background. I've looked up to. Well, I've known this guy for a lot of years. We used to run parties together.
Yes, we did.
The Low Society days. The man's crowd surfed in a boat. It was a lot of fucking fun. And yeah, and then we kind of were in a bit of a DJ crew together doing radio on Bondi Beach Radio. So I've known this guy a lot of years, and I've looked up to him for a long time because he's been producing for the lot of it, and his setup, as you can see in the background, kicks fucking ass. So I'm really glad to have you on. First instance, mate, gives a helicopter view of who you are and your musical background, and yeah, where you came from, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I've been doing music for a long time. Like to use a cliche, classically trained from a young age.
Nice.
Yeah, I grew up playing piano, clarinet, saxophone in bands and school bands, and that kind of stuff. And um, family was relatively musical. My uncle's a jazz pianist, and my mum's a dancer, and so music's always been kind of in the house and around. And yeah, from a very young age, like I remember like listening to albums and playing with the EQ on the stereo to try and bring out certain bits or change this or whatever. And then even like taping things in the radio and like having two tape decks and like making my own mixes by like stopping and pausing one to tape over bits or like remove like bits where there was people talking or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was always kind of like in there. And yeah, then I don't know, like I started DJing when I was about 17. And yeah, like I'm sort of still DJing now, like sort of 15 years later. And yeah, there's been a lot of different phases through that. Like I sort of started with like trance and techno. I was definitely like a little raver kid, hard trance, going all those big sort of German hard trance sounds when I was like 17, 18, raving stuff. And yeah, it was like big into that. And then on the side of that, like I was always growing up with friends listening to hip hop and reggae. And then so like gradually kind of got into more breaks and house. And then of course when dubstep happened, it was just like a natural thing because it was like, oh my gosh, like I love reggae, I love club music together. And I think that's where you and I met, like kind of through that time, and was big into that for a while. And then the whole dubstep thing kind of collapsed on itself, or did what it did. And from that point, me and another friend, kind of as a reaction to that, started Irongate Sound, which was like a attempt at bringing like reggae and dancehall back into Sydney club music. And we did sort of started that like 10 years ago now. And that's been steadily kind of going along as like a roots reggae sound system. And it's now kind of a collective of me and my friend Louis, Kid Fiction, who's also a producer, and we work with vocalists, and that's always going along. And then still DJ is Gilsun, and that's just me having fun. And then a few years ago, I wanted to get back into the house and techno, and I started the Oscar Mike alias and produce as that alias and play DJ as that as well. And yeah, and there's two record labels in there as well. There's the Irongate Sound, Irongate Records record label, and then I also help out with Nighttime Drama now, which is a Sydney and Adelaide-based Australian sort of techno label. So yeah, that's the overview, I guess.
It's
Lots of pies, lots of stuff, but yeah, it all kind of dovetails from time to time.
Mate, it's fucking vast. It's really inspiring the amount of musical projects that you've had on for such a long period of time.
Yeah, I am a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, I feel at times, but it is also good to be involved with lots of different things and have lots of different avenues to kind of feel different kind of streams of creativity, like being involved in this. Or yeah, because sometimes when you sit down to produce, I can get quite a scatterbrain kind of mentality for it, and I start producing this, and it's good to be able to go, well, that fits with that alias, or this fits with that alias. And sometimes you can purposely make one for that each name, or sometimes you just kind of make something and it goes, ah, it fits kind of here. So it's good.
Yeah. So, did you ever struggle at any point with having so many sort of things that you were interested in and trying to sort of, and then having hodgepodge of too much, and there was just no definition?
Yeah, no, I struggle with that all the time, like all the time. Like that's probably, I would say, yeah, it's a big weakness of mine, of just kind of like yeah, just kind of having a very kind of erratic effort in different kind of places, and like never kind of like really pushing one thing, because I feel if you do focus and do push on one thing, you can really achieve a lot more with it. At the same time, though, I think over a longer period of time, you do achieve quite a lot when you have different projects going, and you have like different networks that you can build on. But it definitely takes more time because you're not focusing on one particular thing. And also production wise, like the production techniques involved in them are all different. So you're kind of like learning, like quite a lot of different steps in different directions at times. And sometimes they're not really helpful and they kind of pull your ear, one way. And it's, I think in the end, it's all good because it's all experience and it all builds, but it can definitely in a shorter time frame be detrimental because you're not focused. So yeah, it's something I struggle with all the time.
Mate, me too. My DJ sets, I swear to God, they are all over the shop, and I just can't help it because I'll be browsing my tracks. There's something playing. I'm like, that's a sick song. I'm just going to put that in here. No forethought, no nothing, and you just try and jam it in, and it's just like it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes it can be a real strength. I mean, it can, it can be a real, it can definitely, I mean, a good example is, for quite a few years, I got booked at Subsonic Festival and they always booked me to link different parts of the festival, like that have like all the bass culture guys playing and then like a whole bunch of techno guys playing, and they'd always kind of book me to transition. So, sometimes it can work in your favor, like because you are multifaceted and you have like lots of experience and, kind of different skill sets to the regular kind of DJ or producer. But I do think that if you, obviously anything in life, if you focus on one direction, you get quicker progress. So yeah.
I like it. Listen, I want to ask you, and I apologize if this is going back too deep into your memory archives, but was there a light bulb moment for you when you were out raving that you made the decision to say, I want to make some of this myself? Was there a moment?
Not really a light bulb moment, no. I mean, as I said, like I've been playing music from a really young age, and even when I was playing piano as like a 10-year-old, like I'd do my scales and I'd play the pieces that I was practicing, but then I'd always like play around and like make my own sort of little compositions. Obviously, I was a 10-year-old, so they weren't amazing, but like, so I guess, but because of that like youthful kind of experimenting with music, it was just always a natural progression that like as I moved into electronic music, I wanted to make my own versions of it. And to be honest, like I sort of fucked around for like way too long before I like really put the time in to properly learn how to produce. Like, I in my head I was like, yeah, I want to produce music, and it wasn't until I was like really like probably 28 before I started like actually trying to write music. And then it wasn't until I was like 32 or 31 that I actually like learned how to do arrangement properly and actually finish music rather than making 16 bar loops. So I do kind of like think I just yeah, I mean, during that time I was DJing, a fair bit. So I guess that was kind of my outlet. But I do wish that I had learnt all that skill set at a much younger age, like especially if I was 19, 20, because then I would have had like a lot more time to sort of develop it when I was younger. But it is what it is, and it all kind of contributes to who you are. So
absolutely. No, and that's exactly where I am right now. So I played you one of my very early productions just before. That's exactly that. It's an 8-bar loop. So
yeah.
that's exactly what it is. What lesson or what tips can you provide me as someone who's just making loops around actually finishing in song composition, finishing music and song composition?
Yeah, sure. Like, totally. So a big sort of light bulb moment for me in terms of taking that next step to finishing music was kind of two things. The first is just like a mentality, which is like, don't be afraid to like just rely on the conventions of the genre. So if like house music or whatever, like there's lots of kind of formulaic kind of patterns that happen in that music, in any music, and like don't be afraid to just use that. Like you listen to a track, count how many bars intro it is. Like notice that okay, it's got 32 bars intro. There you go. Make a 32 bar intro, and then a 32 bar like groove, and then a 32 bar 16 bar breakdown, and like just literally methodically like kind of break it down and like literally copy the artists and copy the tracks that you like in terms of like the way they structure their tracks. Because you're a DJ, you're a bloody good DJ, if you don't mind me saying, like you're aware of musical phrasing. You know when intros are coming, you know that like I can drop this track here because I know there's breakdowns coming. Like reverse engineer that in your head and go, okay, cool. Well, like I know I need to make an intro, a main groove, and a breakdown. And then the feed of that is like that's how I produce. Like I will generally create an idea, which I'll evolve into my 16 bar pattern or whatever, and I'll get like a nice groove going. And then I'll go, okay, cool. Well, let's pull some of those elements out. So you just mute some parts of it, mute the hi-hats, mute the toms, whatever, until you go, okay, cool, that sounds like a nice stripped down version of that main groove. And then that essentially could be your intro. And then you've got an intro and your main groove. And then you just do the same thing again, but you're thinking about making a breakdown. So maybe take the kick out and like add some pads or something, add one more change element. And then suddenly you've got 3 16 bar loops or 3 32 bar loops, 3 8 bar loops, whatever they are.
Yep.
And then you sort of, once you get to sort of 4 forms of your like little bit of music, once you've got 4, like that's enough to start making a basic arrangement: intro, main groove, breakdown, like outro. And then like you just start swapping around. So intro, main groove, breakdown, back to the main groove, and then back to the breakdown, back to the main groove, outro. There you go, there's your track. So it's about like kind of breaking it down to those like, components, because you're not actually having to write all these different stuff. Like dance music in particular is super repetitive, and that's okay. Like you can lean into that and you can use that to your advantage and just go, cool, here's my main groove. Now I'm going to make a variation on that groove. And now I'm going to make a stripped down version of that groove. And now I'm going to make like a peak time version of that groove. And then if you've done that, you just move those pieces around until it feels good. And then often when you do that, it'll come out pretty lumpy. But then once you've got it in a timeline in your DAW or wherever you're producing, then it's just a matter of like smoothing those out with transitional elements, adding a sweep here, adding a extra element here. And then it's kind of like, I think about it as often like writing an essay, like sometimes it's easier to edit an essay than it is to write one. So when I was at university, sometimes late at night, it just like bang out like a whole rambling bit of words. And then you just later come back and edit it down and smooth it out. But like the most important thing is getting that main framework there initially, so you can like then massage it into place.
I like it. When your follow-up question. So when you're sketching this idea out, and what I love about what you just said is that it can be lumpy at the end when you at the end of that first kind of like bashing of all, just getting the idea out. I really like that, because one of the things that I'm definitely getting bogged down in right now is it doesn't sound gelled together because it's not a finished song like the stuff that I'm listening to when I'm DJing. So
yeah, totally. Don't have that expectation that you're going to sit down and write it perfectly from start to finish. Like for me, it's always been easier to get the structure of the song, like get your 6 minutes or whatever it is laid out, and then when you listen to it through, you feel one of those lumpy bits, you stop it and you go, okay, why is it lumpy here? Why is it not working? How can I make that transition between those two bits? And then doing that to me is a lot easier than like working your way along and going, oh, where do I go next? Because I don't know, where are you going to go next? But if you've got it all laid out initially, you kind of rush to that point, and then it's a process of editing and smoothing rather than trying to like reinvent the wheel the whole way through the track.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it comes from like the subtractive kind of a very, very rudimentary production technique, which is like you make your 16 bar loop, and then you just copy and paste it until you've got like your 5 minutes, whatever. And then you just go through and delete the bass here, delete the kicks there, whatever. And then just like kind of remove bits and pieces of it until you've got like a basic flow of a track.
Yep.
And then you can go back and add bits, highlight, add a hi-hat here to make it kind of like more intense, add a pad here to make more emotion, filter sweep, like do a big like kind of high pass filter to create a moment of like tension, and then like put it back down again. Lots of tricks you can do.
What's your DAW? How do you produce?
I produce primarily in Pro Tools. I'm a bit weird in that regard. Not many people produce in Pro Tools these days. Um, yeah, it's just I've worked for a number of years in post production. So when I went to SAE and did audio engineering, and then I worked at a recording studio, and then I got a job at Channel 7 and sort of mixing and producing promos for TV and radio. And then I worked at FBI radio here in Sydney and also ABC radio. And all those jobs, that was my bread and butter for a while. And all of those jobs were based on Pro Tools. And yeah, it just purely came down to the fact that I was fast on Pro Tools. And it was just like I learned Logic as well. Like I learned Logic initially, and the first songs I wrote were in Logic. And yeah, it's cool. Like Logic's good, but then I started like Pro Tools is just really powerful for editing audio. And that's a lot of my production style is sample based or resampling, like recording, since I have here, like recording the audio and then just like moving that audio around or processing that audio to make whatever I want. But yeah, as I said before, like I didn't really like, it was, even though I was doing that, I didn't really start finishing tracks. And for me, one of the biggest pieces of technology that helped me kind of break through was Native Instruments Machine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's critical. I'd use it in every single track. It's where I kind of form a lot of my ideas. So before, when I was mentioning, I will create like a 16 bar, idea. I'll literally, it's usually in Machine, and I'll copy and paste that 16 bar idea to a new scene, and then I'll add something to it. So it's a variation on the two scenes, and then I'll do another one and do like 4 of them, and then like do a 5th one, which is then like in my head a breakdown one. So it'll be like taking things away. And then once you've got those 5 or 6 scenes, I then just arrange them in Pro Tools, so like scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, back to scene 2, kind of arrange it like that. And then I record the audio of like my synths and drum machines to fill in the gaps and like build it up, and then I mix down in Pro Tools. But yeah, I think like it's purely just because I was faster in Pro Tools. Was one out, and yeah, I definitely would like to learn Ableton because I see so many people using it, and the ability to take a project from being a production suite into being a live performance is like unparalleled. So I think I would definitely recommend learning Ableton because it seems to be like the easiest way to go about it. But that being said, I'm quite happy with Pro Tools, and I can make music quickly.
Yeah, it's exactly,
which is important.
One is not better than the other. Speaking to the Flashbulb, he uses FL Studio, and one of the things that he loves about that is that he has 4 monitors going at once, so he can see so like X-ray vision into what's going on in the different elements of his track. Whereas Ableton is like one screen and they just try and shove everything onto it. So if you want to have 2 monitors, I don't even know if you can do that, but they really try and keep everything in one.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. Like, I mean, I'm sure pretty much any DAW allows you to open a mixer in a separate window and open a piano scroll in a different window. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'd be shocked if Ableton didn't allow you to do that.
You totally can.
I mean, I generally work. So this is, you can't quite see it, but that's my main screen. So I usually have my arrange window on there, and then my laptop sits down there. This laptop kind of powers this whole system, the clubs in the audio interface. And then my laptop screen, which is down below, becomes my mixer. So I have like the mixer below and then like the arrange above, and I can kind of like look at them both at the same time, and you can kind of see what's happening and see the general mix as you're watching the arrangement. Yeah, which is good. I mean, having your windows laid out the way you like is so important to like being able to be comfortable.
Yeah. And I guess while Pro Tools isn't the most conventional of production platforms for electronic music, because you know it so well and you've got the machine interface and functionality, it kind of gives you everything that you need. And if you can produce music on it, then fucking that's all that really matters, dude.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, as I mentioned before, like before we started recording, like I was talking about the importance of workflow. And I think like that is the most important thing in my mind, like to any production is it doesn't, I mean, as you said, like it doesn't matter what you use, it doesn't, but what does matter is refining and building a workflow that works for you, so that when you have an idea in your head or you have inspiration, you're not hitting barriers to try and put that into being. Like, so when I say workflow, I mean it's just purely being able to sit down and quickly let that idea flow out of you into a recording, and whatever allows you to do that quickly with minimal kind of barrier is what you should go for. And in many ways, like your early years of learning how to produce is about refining your workflow and refining how you want to work and how it makes sense to you. And that's why there's so many different ways of producing, because everyone who produces like has a different path, has a different journey to like learning what works for them in terms of technology, or in terms of like their interface with a computer or a recording device. And yeah, refining that so like when you sit down, you don't have those barriers, you don't have those moments around like, oh, how do I do that? Or like, how can I create that? Or like, how can I capture this? Like the more of those you take away from the process, the more you refine the smoothness of that workflow, the more fun you're going to have making music and the more efficient you're going to be. And that's the end game, like being able to sit down and have it be like, not to sound cliche, but like almost like a meditation, just being able to go, I'm just letting music kind of happen on my computer. Like that's what you want. Like you don't want to be sitting there going, I can't make this work. I can't get this, because then it causes frustration and you just don't enjoy yourself. The end product's not as good. You don't want to do it. It becomes a chore, and that's not what you want. You want to be in the moment, having a good time.
Fuck yeah, dude. I love that. And I've never heard it elocuted so well. That's a really awesome tip, bro. All fucking workflow. Make sure that there's no barriers. And if you come up a barrier, figure a way to get over it and get over it quickly so that the next time you come in, you're already ahead of the game.
Totally. Like use templates, like build yourself templates. Like when you work out what DAW you want to use, like don't sit there and open a new project from scratch every time and have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Like try and like, if you've got a way that you work, like build it in, like just have it there. So when you turn it on, it's already ready to go. I mean, that being said, like you don't want to get into a place where you're always formulaic and always doing the same thing.
Pendulum.
Like you want to have, you want to have those, you want to have those happy accidents, and you want to have that journey of discovery and keep it fresh. So otherwise you might get bored. But like, it's just about having as little barriers as possible to getting the music out of you and into being an actual thing that you can go, hey, look at this thing I made.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. That's the dream, man. Something that other people play that I made, that's the dream, bro. That's what I want. Even if it happens once, I'll be fucking happy.
Yeah, it's addictive. You should be careful. It's addictive.
No, I'm up for it, man. We're not as young as we once were. We're obviously in this for the long haul. So fuck it. It's just a bit of fun in it. Ultimately, I think that's what this is all about. We do it because we love it, not because, I don't know, we're looking for fame or whatever.
Yeah, well, there's definitely no fame and money in it. So I can tell you now, man, like it's a absolute money pit. But it's not about that. It's about enjoying yourself and community. I mean, for me anyway, it's, the community aspect of it and like sharing experiences with people through music has always been one of my biggest motivating factors. And it was interesting because obviously we're all coming through this very strange time. We've just endured through COVID. Fingers crossed, we're at the end of the tunnel now. It feels like we are, and it seems like things are going back to normal, and hopefully we'll be back to a new kind of normal for the foreseeable future. But it was really interesting because initially when that kind of happened, part of me was like, okay, cool. I'm going to have a lot of time at home. I hopefully be able to write a lot of music. And I've found it really interesting that I have not been able to at all. Like I haven't had any inspiration. And the realization was that for me, a critical element has been missing. And that is the community of being able to share the music with people and, see and hear music on, on a loud system with, a dark room. The whole experience of why we all love club music and electronic music is kind of missing. And I've found that just surprising of how much inspiration I've now realized I take from that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And the issues that Sydney's got, where you're located in terms of like clamping down on the nightlife haven't helped over the last, I don't know how long it's been since the lockout laws came in, but yeah, it's tough to kind of find those places. And it's been a really hard time.
It's been, I mean, not to delve too much into the politics of it all, but it has been a very double-edged sword. I mean, obviously we've lost a lot. Like if I think back to when I was, just turned 20, and like the options that you had going out, like that's chalk and cheese. But even just like thinking back, like so 7 years ago, it's a big difference. But there's also been some interesting kind of things that have happened as well. I mean, there was definitely a galvanizing of Sydney underground music, with the lockout laws and the warehouse scene that was thriving pre-COVID. It was a direct result of those lockout laws. Like they forced us out of the places in the city, and we ended up having a very small, compact scene. Like it was, you could count it probably every weekend, and probably less than 1,000 people. But for a city of how many million is this? I don't know. It's really small, but it was very dedicated and hardcore kind of crowd. And I would have friends from Melbourne who'd come up to Sydney and be like, "Oh yeah, I hear Sydney's dead," whatever. And then you'd take them to one of these warehouse parties, and all of a sudden they're standing there with a huge fuck off sound system, high roof, smoke machine, and they're able to stand there with a bottle of spirits and a joint on the dance floor. And it's like, well, you can't do this in Melbourne. And it's like, yeah, no, you can't. Like it's so we did have a really special thing for a while, which was a direct result of the lockout laws. So we did benefit in some way of like having that experience kind of there. But at the same time, it was so fragile and so small compared to like what it should be in a city of this size. So I'm definitely not defending lockout laws by any means. Like they were terrible in every regard, like culturally, economically, like just a terrible idea. But they did get repealed. We had like 3 weeks of no lockout laws before COVID hit. And then now it's had 2 years of now lockdown. So it's going to be a very different landscape when we do come back. I mean, part of me is slightly optimistic that Sydney will bounce back, but it's going to take a long time. Like so many venues have closed, so many promoters have moved on, so many people have now grown up for years. Like, I mean, you've got 2 years of COVID essentially, and what was it, 3-4 years of lockdowns before that. Like there's like people like pushing 25 who have never seen club life in Sydney. So there's a whole generation of people who have now missed that. And that's sad, because like going back to what I was saying before about the community and connection, like music and clubbing is not just about drugs and getting fucked up. Like it's about expression and connection and community. And it's really sad that our lawmakers can't see that.
Yeah, man. And there's so much fucking talent as well in Sydney. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I know. Like it's really cool actually. Like there's some, and one of the reasons I'm optimistic slightly about the future of Sydney is like people are doing stuff. Like the Dungeon Boys are still doing, they're all still around, ready to go. What I saw your interview previously with Mincy. Like what she's doing with Extra Spicy is killer. Like she's like galvanizing so many young heads and really talented producers and giving them a platform, which is really awesome. And like other crews are doing similar things, and I'm speaking to people around. Like I know for a fact there's like 2 other crews that are like on the cusp of starting their own labels and pushing out music. So it's cool. And, we're hoping with Iron Gate Records, we're hoping to be in the mix as well. We've got new music coming out soon, and which is supporting some local producers, and had some remixes from some young heads around. And yeah, it's good to be a part of that. And I do feel like there is starting to be a bit of a wave in terms of like Sydney production. And hopefully that will translate to like the scene being able to rise again when we are able to next year. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to take some time, but it could be good.
I'm motivated, dude. I'm really excited. I'm not even there, and I feel like I'm excited for what's going on, man. It's really fucking exciting.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it's really exciting, but it's like a glimmer. It's a glimmer of hope that we're all holding on to.
Look, honestly, man, the reason I moved to the UK was to be close to like the BBC, which is where Marianne Hobbs showed Dubstep to the world, which is a show that I was so inspired by.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, man. You know.
I do. Like, I mean, I like that Marianne Hobbs. I know you're talking about the Dubstep Wars, the Breeze Block thing that she did. Like that was like the impact that had is huge. And like I've always shared your love of radio, because radio is really cool. Like it's really cool. And like we're very lucky to have FBI in Sydney. I mean, some people have their own opinion of FBI, but ultimately it's incredible that we have a youth broadcaster like that that's so supportive of underground music. Like that's a real bonus for the city. And yeah, like radio has the power to sort of, push movements and, push music out there. And that's really, really cool. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah. But it's just like, I remember leaving to be close to London, and yet because I didn't think Sydney had it in it to really make it on the world stage. But now everything that's going on, I'm like a kid in a candy shop, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we still need the venues. Like,
yeah, it's
that's
true.
the problem.
It's
like,
true.
we need until we get like venues, and until the police sort of licensing police kind of take their boot off our neck. Like it's always going to be underground, and I mean it's so frustrating. Like even from a policy perspective, like the lockout laws were just so stupid. Like they were supposed to make people safer, and they just pushed it all away from regulated spaces. So stupid. Like, I mean, I've been to warehouse parties, and I love them. They're awesome. But there's been some of them that I've been at. I'm like, this is a fucking death trap. Like, if there's a fire here, people will die. And like that kind of thing pops into your head, like when you're my age. And it's, I love them. They're awesome. But at the same time, it's like this is completely like perverted what they were trying to achieve. Like make everyone safe. Like we'll just take them out of licensed venues where there's like, RSA, like responsible service of alcohol, and security guards, and push them into the underground venues where there's no ambulance that cover and there's no safety nets. Like, yeah, good work. Yeah. Well done. I mean, the upside of that is that the community had to kind of like regulate itself. And I think Sydney has done a fantastic job of that. Like I still feel incredibly safe whenever I go to those parties, like the warehouse parties and stuff, because the community knows what they have and they know that it's special and people look after each other. And because you've got to be kind of in the know, or you've got to kind of seek it out. Like you don't really get any dickheads there. So that always helps.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, fuck, it's good hearing you talk, man. You're so eloquent on the scene. It really gets me G'd up.
Don't play smoke at my ass here.
So, bro, listen, a lot of bromance going on. Quick one. So I want to come back to production for a minute.
Yeah.
How long were you in the box before you started using actual hardware synthesizers?
Yeah, I mean, I depends what you mean by in the box. Like I still am in the box. Like I do most of my production, like recording into a DAW and editing and stuff. I mean, the first synth I got was my Alpha Juno, which is the bottom one over there, which is like a kind of a polysynth digital. It's kind of like after the Juno 16106, they made that one. That was the first one, and I sampled the chords. I would play chords sometimes on that, and then like to sample those, like record the chords. And like I'm no piano virtuoso at all. Like I'm terrible, but like you just kind of put headphones on, and you kind of find oh yeah, that's it, and then yeah, that's it, and then you kind of do okay, cool, and then put a metronome on, press play, press record, do it twice, fuck it up 7 times, get it once, good, okay, cool, that's the one, and then you just kind of you have it once, and then it's an audio, and like kind of turn the synth off, okay, cool, it's off, and then it's in Pro Tools, and I've got the audio, and I can start like working around. So like I've always been like a very, very rudimentary producer in that regard. Like I'm not like hooking everything up and synchronizing it and like making it all play. And I've always just been like really rudimentary, like sort of sample snitching from my own gear. And then I got like Volcas. I got like the little Volcas, which are like great, man. I got the Volca keys.
Oh,
Volca
yeah.
Killer. I don't use them much anymore, but I definitely did for a while. Like made a whole bunch of tracks using just Volcas, which was a really cool learning experience. And then I got like the Voyager, the big motherfucker up there.
It looks so sexy, dude.
Yeah, it's an incredible synth. I mean, it was a pretty rash impulse purchase. It was like I literally was like, it's so ridiculous. Like I wanted to get one of the boutique Roland little synths when they first came out, and like I was like, oh yeah, cool. And I was like, they were like $700 or something at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, $700, that's pretty cool. Get like a Juno or whatever. And then because the Alpha Juno is a little bit different. It's a Juno, but it's not like a Juno. I wanted to get like a proper one. Like the boutique ones came out, I was all excited. Yeah, cool. And then I went online, I was like, $700. Oh, I wonder how much like a real one is. And I was like looking on eBay, and real ones at the time were going for like 1,200, I think. I was like, oh, it's only double the price, like whatever. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm looking at a Moog Voyager going, yeah, I'm gonna buy that. Like it was like triple, like so much more money. And then it's so stupid because it's a completely different synth. It's a fucking like mono synth. It's not even a poly synth. Like I don't know what I was thinking. Like I was just became obsessed with it. I gotta have that. And then I bought it. And it's a fucking absolute beautiful bit of kit. And it's incredible because like it's got like the inputs on top, so you can, because it's got a Moog filter in it, which is just so sexy, and you can break audio into it. So you can play other instruments into the filter of that and then use the circuitry of it to like, you know, do all kinds of cool stuff. So it's been a really, really incredible synth. But like in hindsight, I don't know what I was thinking, like spending so much money on a huge mono synth. I would definitely spend that money again differently.
Okay.
Now, but at the same time, I have no regrets of buying it because it's a beautiful bit of kit. So yeah, it's one of those ones. But
Yeah. Do you think it has helped your productions and, you know, progressed you having made the investment?
Everything progresses you, like every bit of kit that you get and you learn how to use, or you know, you take inspiration from, kind of moves you forward. Absolutely. I mean, it's just like, has it moved me forward enough to justify the price tag? I don't know, but like it's definitely, everything helps you kind of move forward, and you know, it gives you new ideas. And I'm a big believer of like the form of a physical synth dictates a lot about, you know, how you use it and the sound that comes out. I mean, one of the reasons that like 909s and 808s are so amazing, I mean, you can get those sounds on almost any drum synth now. Sure, like they don't always have the same spirit as the real thing, of course, but part of it is the actual physical box, and the way that you program it derives a particular result, and like that's what people want. And it's the same with all synths. Like the way they're built kind of shapes you to play them in a certain way or use them in a certain way, which then gives you desired results. I mean, you know, if you want to make classic Detroit kind of techno and stuff, like get a 303 emulator, get a Roland, get a 909 emulator, and like just like don't try and like, you know, once again, as I said right at the start of the conversation, like don't be afraid to use the conventions of the genre. Like if they're the instruments that make that music that you want to make, get those instruments, like get those sounds. Like don't make it hard for yourself and try and like start from scratch. Just like get the things that the people use that you want to use, and then you're halfway there straight away. So
yeah. Fucking hell, that's awesome, man. Listen,
yeah,
I want to touch on DJing for a minute, but before we go into DJing, I want to ask, is there any bits of advice or anything, any lessons that you've learned that you'd like to impart when it comes to music production for me, who's so new in the process?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've sort of said the big part, which is back to that workflow idea and working out how you want to work. I mean, as I said, I'm pretty in the box. Part of that is I record a lot of stuff, a lot of real world synths into the box, but I'm not really kind of like hooking them up and synchronizing them live. I mean, our mutual friend Manu, who did one of these, you know, interviews with you a few weeks back, like I was watching his one and way he works, and I love the way he works, and I wish that I worked like that, because I think there's a really good immediacy with that. Like you have a really immediate kind of interaction with your devices, and you kind of make music, and the upside producing in that way as well is that it's very easy to take that into a live performance, because you just take all the gear and just do the thing in front of an audience, more or less. Yeah. Whereas for me to take what I do here in the studio and make a live performance is essentially impossible, because I'm not producing in a way that results in a whole track being played at once from my devices. Like I'm literally like doing this little snippet and putting it in there. The upside, and this is also exactly what Mano said in his interview, is that I am able to work on lots of projects simultaneously, because I have complete recall. Like, so I can be working on an Iron Gate sound beat, mixing a vocal or whatever, and then go, oh, I'm so sick of this. Shut down the project, open up something completely different. And then within 3 minutes, I'm in a completely different project, making and mixing completely different music right where I left off from last time. So especially now that I'm a father and time is, a little bit precious, that's really good for me because sometimes I don't get enough time to sit down and like hash something out from start to finish. So it's like, I might only have like an hour and a half, and you get like an hour into it and you're like, okay, I gotta go do this or whatever. And so you can just save, shut it down. And then when I come back in 4 days or whatever and open it back up, it's right where I left off, like immediately. So that's a definite advantage of working in the box. But yeah, as I said, that the downside is you can't really perform it live and there's not that immediacy. So yeah, it's all about kind of working out what works for you, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I want to touch on DJing because, as you know, I've recently moved over to Tractor. I was a vinyl
man.
DJ.
Let's talk Tractor.
Let's talk Tractor, dude. So listen, I was a vinyl guy, then I was a Serato guy, then I became a Tractor guy simply because I saw Rebecca. She's one of my biggest inspirations in DJing, playing 4 decks of techno with a Korg Volca bass and a drum machine and reverb pedals and all that shit, all running through an Allen and Heath mixer. That to me is that's just sex on wheels. You've been Tractor for a really long time. Talk to me about your setup now and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I started with CJs. CJs is where I first started DJing when I was like very young. CJ 500s.
Oh, mate.
Definitely showing my age there. I had CJ 500s and a Behringer 3-channel mixer. Quality.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And like, I used to burn CDs. Like you'd load them up into Nero and you'd burn your tracks into CD and it'd come out like a stonemason. You pull it out of the fire and fresh CD, there we go, take it to the gig. And then you kind of like, you got more and more tracks in your CDs, then all of a sudden you're like data discs and all went from there. But I then, because I said at the start of this, I was, heavy into my house and techno as a little raver, and I wanted in that scene then and still now, it's extremely vinyl based. And so I started then wanting to mix vinyl. And so I started buying vinyls. The first vinyls I bought were like a lot of hard trance and that kind of stuff. And then got turntables and started mixing that. And then it just purely became a money thing. I just couldn't afford enough vinyl. Like I got to probably like 50 records, whatever. And it was just, I was super young. I had no money and I was just poor. And I wanted to keep DJing. I wanted to like keep practicing and keep progressing. And so I was like, I need to play digital. So I had the CJs and that was cool, but like they started to fail and they were getting really old. And so I was like, well, and then at the time, like time code vinyl with Tractor and Serato wasn't brand new. I do remember the first time I ever saw it though. It was DJ Craze playing at the Metro in Sydney, and like it was wild. Like it was like I don't remember how old it was, but like basically he was DMC world champion, turntablist, and he was doing like the whole like hip hop and drum and bass jungle thing, which was like really cool. And yeah, he played the entire set from 2 vinyls, like time code control. And everyone was like, whoa, like with a laptop and time control, you can just do anything. So I was just like, okay, cool. This is the thing. Because then I can have my records, I can have my turntables that I have with the records I do have. I can keep buying records when I can afford it. But if I just get Tractor, then like all my digital music I can play as well, and I can just kind of do that. And then so that it just sort of seemed logical. And then so I went on the Tractor and got on the Tractor Scratch really, really early in its infancy and learned it really well, and kind of got deep on that. And that was how I DJed for a long time. And then got an X1 controller. And that like literally changed everything, because with an X1 controller, suddenly you have access to all the features inside the software, like looping and like effects. And that was a big game changer in my DJing, because like all of a sudden like you're able to loop things and like reverb things and delay things, and then combine that. So you're pretty deep. But then inevitably, especially back then, like timecode vinyl was pretty like fiddly. Like you had to like set it all up with the audio interface and your laptop, and there's a lot of like connection points, a lot of things that can go wrong. just had like way too many bad experiences in clubs, like trying to set up fucking Tractor. You know, that guy, oh, excuse me, I gotta set my laptop up, excuse me. It's like, you know, it's fucking sucks. Like, it's just a shit thing.
And then
like,
you're looking at people just walking in, plugging in USB sticks, and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, totally. And then and so I started thinking, well, why am I doing this? Like, I learned CJs first of all. Like, that's where I started. Why am I bothering with this? And so then, yeah, then once, obviously at this time, CJ 1000s were the things. So you still had to have CDs, and so bringing City Wallet was kind of like, you know, it was easy. It was definitely easier than bringing a laptop. But yeah, but then like when the USB thing happened, it was just like, well, this is a fucking no-brainer. Like, why would I bother bringing a laptop, control vinyls, having all these points of failure, like a turntable, like the control vinyl can fuck out, your needle can fuck out, the tone arm could be shit, the turntable might not be calibrated, the cables might not be connected properly. All these fucking points of failure that you're bringing into the equation when you can just walk in with a USB stick and go bang, play, done. So obviously, and also, I mean, let's be honest, like it's pretty rare that you play a headline set. Like, you're normally playing support or open or close or whatever. So like, to be that guy bringing in Tractor for a support set is just not cool. So I just like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna bring USB sticks. And so I went back to digital DJing. You know, that was definitely through Low Society days and stuff that you and I were DJing together. I was very, very digital. Yeah. But I think a lot of the time, you know, when you're DJing for a long period, you know, many years, you get sort of, for lack of a better word, bored with what you're doing, and you kind of lose, you know, you stop being inspired by, or, you know, you're not excited by it anymore. And the way that I've always kind of overcome that is like by changing the way I do things, like, you know, taking on a new challenge. So when I got bored with like digital DJing, I was like, well, let's go back to vinyl. So I started, especially with the Oscar Mike project, my House and Techno thing, I went back to playing just vinyl again, purely enjoying the challenge of like having no safety net and like no tricks, no looping, no delays, no effects, like just vinyl, and like going back to that. And by no means am I a great vinyl DJ. Like I don't do it enough to have really, really tight blends all the time. I'm not terrible, but like I'm definitely not a fucking Ben UFO or anything. Oh, he's not. He plays mixed mode anyway. But you know what I mean. Like, I'm not like super mega awesome on vinyl. But yeah. And then so I once again kind of got to the point where I was like spending a lot of money on vinyl, and then sort of looked back into timecode and like where Tractor was. And as I said, I've always been using it and always had it in the back of my head. And yeah, like today, Tractor is a very, very different beast. You can connect your laptop to a Tractor certified mixer with one cable, like just one USB cable, like USB-C, USB straight into the mixer, one cable, and then like you can control all those channels on the mixer with whatever you want coming from Tractor. So all of a sudden, like that ease was kind of back, like the same as it was for USB stick, like being able to plug it in and be very immediate. All of a sudden I was like, oh wow, like Tractor's and the technology behind it has moved a long way forward. And so, yeah, I was like, maybe I should go back to digital DJing and like enjoy getting deeper into like more complex mixing, because vinyl DJing is fucking awesome, but it is vinyl DJing. Like, there's a limitation to it. And the limitation is part of what makes it exciting and cool. But there's also a part of me which is really enjoys what, like similar to what you do, like getting really deep and doing 4-deck mixing, having a delay pedal and like delays and effects, and like, you know, like using some tracks as essentially just a percussive tool, like have like 16 bars this loop, and you have that loop for like 7 minutes while other tracks are evolving over the top of it and things. And that's been really fun. And so yeah, I bought the Zone 96 last year.
I want one so bad.
Dude, what a mixer. Like, I mean, they took everything that was awesome at the Zone 92 and they just got rid of all the shit bits and just made an incredible mixer. Like, it sounds amazing. It works. It's just beautiful. I mean, I've always been on Pioneer for a long time, and Pioneer's ergonomics and the way that they're laid out is really, really easy to use and more fun, but they don't sound anywhere near as good as these things. And like the way that you can set these up to be your own kind of palette in a way, because I've also got the K2 MIDI controller, which controls my Tractor now. So yeah, so it's cool. Like on the rare occasion that I do get booked as a headline act, or I'm running my own party and I've got the ability to make sure it's all set up how I want, it's great, because I'll get a zone either there, I'll take this one, or I'll get one from, you know, whoever's running the sound, take the MIDI controller and my laptop once again, one cable, and then you've got all those channels, 4, 6 channels that you're able to use and loop and control and just essentially DJ in a way that is almost like performing live, because you're not playing a single track from start to finish without manipulating it in some way. Like sometimes you're taking just 16 bars from here and using that as like a bed for like other things to evolve over. And yeah, a big inspiration of mine is Chris Leaving, and the way he DJs the way he plays techno has been a big influence in the way that I've kind of set up this system. So long-winded answer. DJing in all its form is great fun, and there's really so many different ways you can do it. And I really like the fact now that I feel pretty confident that whatever the setup is, I'll be able to perform on it. Like if someone's like, "Hey, I've only got CJs," it's like, that's fine, I'll bring you a speed sticks. Hey, it's a vinyl only gig. It's like, cool, I'll bring a bag of vinyl. And it's like, hey, well, we've got like endless scope for you to do whatever you want. Like, okay, cool, well, I'll bring my Zone 96 and a laptop and we'll get deep on it. And it's cool to have all those different options, because they all kind of give you different ways of performing and engaging, which is cool.
Fucking awesome, dude. Mate, that was, while you say it was a long answer, that was a juicy fucking answer. I love hearing that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to you and I being in the same country sometime, man, because I really like to like have a few beers with you and like nut out over Tractor, because there's a lot to that software and there's a lot of things you can do. And like the way that I use it, I'm sure would be of interest to you, and the way that you use it, I'd be very interested in seeing like how you actually kind of go about like everything, because there's so many different little things, like even simple things like when I load a track now on digital DJing, like it automatically loads into a 16-bar loop. And I'm pretty sure it was you who gave me that idea, like just recently. I don't think I was doing that until you. Do you do that? Is that what you do?
I saw a guy doing that, and I think we spoke about it when I had you on the show last time. And yeah, but I'm pretty sure you were already doing that though, because I don't have that set up. No.
Right. Well, I'm doing it now. I don't think I wasn't doing it initially, because I used to just, I've got like a kind of shift command, so I shift and then press the jog wheels at the top of the K2 to load into a deck. And yeah, like that works fine. But now I've just changed the binding in the software, so when I do that, it automatically loads the track and plays the track and locks into a 16-bar loop. So it's cool, because it means that you can really just kind of do it quickly and not have to think about it, and you know that the track's not going to do any surprises, like suddenly start doing a new melody or a breakdown. Like it's going to be doing that 16-bar intro beat, and you can kind of like focus on other things and then come back to it and go, okay, cool, now I'm ready to like unloop that and evolve it into whatever else is happening on the mixer. That's super, super, super fun. Like I think that is the most fun I've had DJing. Like the few times I've been able to like play like 2-hour sets with the digital setup I've currently got, the 4-deck mixing with my delay pedal, that it's just so much fun, man. Like it's really, you really get deep in it, and it's like you really do feel like you're kind of not just being a glorified jukebox. Like you are actually doing something cool with your DJing, which is fun.
Absolutely. And I find it really interesting that, just coming back to what you said earlier about how your productions don't lend themselves to live performances, and yet you've found a way to do live performances through the Tractor software when you have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because I've definitely a number of times now gone down the path of being like, well, this is how I should perform live. Like I'll just get my tracks and I'll like bounce out like a version of the track that just has the drums, and then I'll load that into Tractor, and I'll bounce out a version that just has the melody. I'll load that into a different deck on Tractor, and like every time I try and do it, it just gets so complex, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, just get able to learn how to use it, you dickhead. Like, it just gets to this point where you just like, you end up going down this incredibly convoluted path just to do the thing. As I said before, like, if you want to make Chicago House, like, get the device, get the instrument that does the thing you want to do. Like, if I want to play live, just get able to learn how to use it. Like, don't
That's hilarious. Oh, dude, it's been a fucking pleasure chatting with you, mate. So just in summation, what's coming up for you? Where can people find you? What should people be looking out for?
Yeah, so as I said, I haven't been writing a lot this year. I've been kind of focusing on the two labels that I'm running, which is Iron Gate Records and Nighttime Drama. So Nighttime Drama is about to release a VA, like various artists release, 8-track release, sort of showcasing Australian producers. So a lot of really cool stuff on that, on the sort of techno and sort of breaks tip. And we've also got a forthcoming release with Sydney artist Andreas. He's a young producer here in Sydney who's really making some awesome music on the kind of like a sort of W minimal kind of techno sort of side, which so really excited with those releases coming out soon. And yeah, really happy to be supporting him and supporting also like all the other artists that are on that VA. It was hopefully going to be out in late November, but it's looking like we've had a delay with our mastering, which is really annoying because that means it's going to be then ready in December, and we don't want to release music in December. So it's quite probably going to get pushed out to early next year now, which is a bit of a bummer. And then Iron Gate Sound we're celebrating our 10 years, which is
no
ridiculous.
shit.
I can't believe it's been 10 years. We've been like messing around with vocalists all around the world doing reggae stuff. So we are actually re-releasing our 2009 EP Different Hours, which was a 4-track EP that we did with different vocalists in Jamaica and the UK. We're re-releasing that, and we're re-releasing it with a bonus track which is featuring Mungus and Hilaire from Roll Deep, so grime royalty, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And then remixes of all the tracks. So all the tracks are being remixed by various people. We've got Amy Kuznalbo, who you know from Bristol.
Yep.
Chris Monkey, originally from Manchester, now here in Sydney. Up and comer Ackle from Sydney, who's making incredible music. And also Subset from Melbourne, who's like a dub techno producer. So they've all submitted remixes of the original EP. So that's going to be a big kind of like thing we're putting out very soon. And yeah, and then so once those two sort of things are out for the two different labels, it'll be back to sort of, I guess, the writing phase then. So hopefully in summer I'll get some time to write some new music, and then yeah, looking forward to trying to do a new EP as Oscar Mike on Nighttime Drama next year. I've got some stuff that's kind of getting to a point where it's close to being finished, and hopefully in the first half of next year I'll have a solo EP out again. So yeah, keeping things moving. It's been a slow time getting all this stuff lined up and ready to go out the door, but it's close. We're all kind of getting to the point where it's all very close to being off our hard drives and in the real world, which is always a rewarding part of the process. So
yeah, man, super exciting times. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like the sound of what's going on here with Gilsun, make sure you check out the links in the description below. Nathan Gilbert, Gilsun, it's been a bloody pleasure, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure, Kiz. Good to talk to you. Thanks so much for having us on. It's always nice to chat music and yeah, talk about production and stuff with you. It's been a pleasure.
Hello, legend. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. If you'd like that, I got a ton more of these interviews being uploaded constantly on the YouTube page. And I do a weekly mix on Mixcloud every Saturday. So if you can subscribe, like, comment, that helps out loads with the algorithm. And if you follow me everywhere and you like the sound of what's going on here, let me know. I'm always open to hearing from people. This is very new. I'm figuring it out as I go along. But yeah, there's tons more. Check out the other interviews. Follow me. Listen. Jump onto the live stream. Say hi. I'm a friendly dude, and I really appreciate you watching. So thank you so much. You're a fucking legend. Love ya. Peace. Bye.